Andre James to the Chargers. Let's fucking go, boys and girls. If you haven't paid attention to anything I've ever said on Twitter or on any of these videos, you wouldn't know, but I've been pounding the table for Andre James. Obviously, we extended Bozeman. We knew that the way that they structured that contract, once the actual information came out, it was very much, if you have the opportunity to win the starter position, your contract increases dramatically. Otherwise, you're being paid backup money. It was very specifically structured that way, so we knew that there was going to be competition, whether that be a rookie in the draft, whether that be Zion Johnson, and we address the guard position, or whether we bring in more talent. And so, obviously, I've been pounding the table for Andre James, saying let's bring in more talent. I don't like the rookies in this class. I think Gray Zabel is the only one who I could see kind of trying to compete for a starter position, but there's so many unknowns with him, and we have so much that we need to address at the 22 pick. I don't think he falls to the second round, and so it was really the only thing that made sense to me. Zion as a center, obviously he played a little bit of it at the Senior Bowl, but he's not, no. And honestly, I think Zion's a perfectly fine guard. He's middle of the pack for a second guard on your team. I think if you look at PFF grades, which take him for a grain of salt, but I think he was middle of the pack for your second guard on your team. I think he was ranked around 47th. If we continue to see improvement, because he improved dramatically from 2023 to 2024, if we continue to see improvement from him and we end up with a top 40 guard on the left side, if Mekhi Becton's a top 20, if he regresses outside of the Eagles scheme to a top 20 guard, that's huge. Center with Andre James, if we end up with a top 20 guard, we may not, or a top 20 center, then that's huge. I don't think people realize how massive of an improvement that is versus bottom 5 center in the league, bottom 5 guard in the league, middle of the pack guard. Like, that is weakness. If Zion's your weakest link, then you can get by with a lot, not to mention 2 top 10 tackles, top 5 at each of their positions for sure, and that's without expecting Alt to improve. Like, he was probably a top 5 tackle on the right side, or right tackle at least, this year. And so if we see improvement from him at all, Slater's still a top 5 tackle, maybe top 8. We are talking about actually having the ability of being close to the best line in the league. Now, there's some excellent offensive lines out there, especially ones that have shuffled around. We'll see how much improvement they make. But if we have a top 5 to 10 offensive line in the league, like, that is... And not only that, it's just quality at every position. It's not having massive glaring holes. Like, 2 tackles don't matter that much if you can't handle a stunt at all, if they can bring interior pressure. The evolution of interior defensive linemen has changed the way that guards and centers get paid. We've seen their pay increase dramatically in the last couple of years. And that's because those positions are significantly more valuable than they ever used to be, because interior defensive linemen have evolved in the last 15 years. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be incredible to see that transformation. And more importantly, it doesn't keep us pigeonholed into the draft. So I like where we're at. I would not be surprised at all to see Pipkin stay on the team. It just kind of depends on what other moves we make in free agency. If we have talent available that we want to go get, I think you cut Pip and make more money for the rookie class, basically. If you can spend the rest of the money in free agency. If they decide that there's not enough value out there to spend all that money, it makes no sense to cut Pip. If you're staying within the salary cap situation, keep him on there. See if he becomes available, a hot name at the trade deadline, because he's not really getting reps. I think he played better at tackle than he did at guard, quite honestly, especially in the run game. And so I think he's fine to keep as a swing tackle position. Jamari Salyer is your guard. You still go draft someone to develop to replace Zion when his 5th-year option hits and he becomes very expensive and everything else. And so I think this frees us up to play to the strengths of the draft dramatically. We obviously need offensive weapons, either it be wide receiver or tight end. We desperately need a running back, I think, in the 2nd and 3rd round. That makes a ton of sense. There's so much talent in this draft. I don't think it's going to slip like people do. I think that, talent gets drafted early, and I think there's a tremendous amount of talent in this class. I think we're going to see 10 running backs off the board, at least in the first 3 rounds. I think they're going to fly. And so I wouldn't be surprised about that, but we need to be a player in that in that game. But now we can because we're playing to the strengths of the draft. We're not pigeonholed. You can go get a guard in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round that can be your developmental guard. You can go get a guy in free agency next year if you need. You can go into the draft and get another guy. Either way, at least we're shored up for this season. And because Andre James, at the end of the day, is 27 years old. In 2023, he was the 9th or 10th best center in the league. Played incredibly well in a gap power scheme. They shifted to a zone scheme. His offensive line coach left. Everything changed for him, and he regressed dramatically. That Raiders offense was also doo-doo. So how much are you really going to blame on him? I think he's an excellent, excellent upgrade at center for us. Obviously, they're going to battle it out if Bozeman and it wins the job. Then we have bigger issues at hand. But I don't think that's the case. Yeah, I just would love to see him kind of regain that previous form that he had. And like I said, I think PFM had him at the 11th best center. I think overall he was ranked as the 9th best center. If we have him as the 20th best center, that is such an improvement. It's insane. The offensive line is so shored up at that point that obviously there are moves you can make to still try and improve it. But we have so much freedom to go through and do whatever we need to do in the draft. Couldn't be more thrilled about it. Couldn't be more happy to be right. Now let's hope that I'm right on some other signings. We bring in one more receiver, specifically our boy Keenan Allen, Slayer, number 13, bring him back. And then I think we need to address a position at corner, but this has now shifted from a lot of positives in free agency, from a lot of so-so with a couple positives sprinkled in. Now I feel like Chargers fans have been somewhat heard. We feel like that promise to protect Herbert and increase the running game and do what needs to be done, that feels followed up on. And we used our free agency money, our cap space that we had, to address the needs that we had going into this. And so I'm no longer upset. Go Chargers. Fucking got a solid offensive line in front of us. Room for improvement, but did it in an incredibly smart way. Couldn't be more happy tonight. Go Bolts. If you liked this video, please give me a follow on Twitter or X at Erdman Chargers, shown on the graphic here, or subscribe to my YouTube channel at Nature's Calls Pod.